everyone, it's Alicia, and welcome back to the Eden Podcast. I am so glad to be here with you all. I am loving actually coming on and, just being here with y'all. It's been really great. I have some guests coming up in the coming weeks, but it has been really nice, and I'm really enjoying this, and I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying it too. You can definitely let me know in the comments on YouTube or email me and let me know, because I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, it'd be nice to hear from y'all if you are, feeling the same. Y'all, it's a lot going on. It is a lot going on. And I know for me, when stress hits me hard, I'm ready to eat. I don't know about y'all, but it's the thing that kind of calms my nervous system down. It soothes me in a way that me processing, which is, something that should be doing, let's be serious, but, eating has always been my mainstay. I've gotten better at managing how I do that. And if you're just joining the podcast, like just joining and listening, welcome. Like I said, my name is Alicia, and I have been talking about eating. And I started this podcast because of my eating issues, and I've spoken to so many amazing people who are in the world of eating disorders and emotional eating and, just how to help people with managing their diets, weight loss management, like all the things. Like I've talked to so many people. But I think as we move into this thing of managing it beyond what we learn, I think it's so important for us to acknowledge that it's a journey, and it's not a thing where it's like, oh, now that so-and-so has told me this, I have to do this. And if I don't do it, then, all bets are off and, just go back to what I used to do, right? It's a journey. Some days you're going to be perfect, in air quotes, you're going to be perfect at it. And some days you're going to go and tear up that whole pint of ice cream and some cookies on the side. Like, let's be serious. Like, it happens. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves about that. But it's the thing of habitually doing it that is causing so much harm to our bodies. And I wanted to talk about that because I feel like right now, with the climate that we're in, there's so much discourse, there's so much stress and evil things that are happening. Trump's back in office, and it is really causing a lot of stress and fear amongst so many people. And I want you guys to know, before I even go into the article, because y'all know me, I got to have my articles, and just to talk about what this looks like in terms of how we can, eat better in the midst of this crisis that we're in, because it's literally like we're in, like, there's so many crises that are happening, but overall, the crisis that we're in, just figuring out how to take care of ourselves, eating being, at least for me, and I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast, be the top priority, because what we eat matters. It really does. And for so long, I didn't know that. I just thought, I'm gonna roll up here to McDonald's, get my number 2, and keep it pushing. But meanwhile, I've got all the things going on in my body, and I'm not putting all the pieces together, right? And so, yeah, so I want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves at this time, because regardless of what this administration, what other people that are just negative and toxic are going to do, it is important that we focus on our health, and we can start by what we are eating. So here we are, you guys. I found this article. I think it's going to be helpful to you all. And if it's not, well, it'll be helpful to somebody. I'm just going to just put that out there. The Cleveland Clinic wrote an article in October of 24, and it's called De-Stress Eating, Foods to Help Reduce Anxiety. And I feel like a lot of us are very anxious, just worried about what's going on. Excuse me, y'all. Give me a little water here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the sun. Like where I live, it's beautiful because my apartment gets so much sunlight, which is amazing. That's another thing too. I encourage you guys, get out, get into the sun, get out of your house and get some air. It's a lot warmer right now in New York City. It's still cold, but it's so much warmer than what it's been. So if you're in a place where you can just get out and just maybe go for like a 5-minute maybe even it's 2 minutes, like whatever, just get out of your house and get some fresh air. I just came back in myself. So sunlight is definitely important as well. Just like I said, all the tools, my water, just showed y'all, drinking my water, stay hydrated. That's important too. But on to the foods. So like I said, the Cleveland Clinic wrote this article, De-Stress Eating, Foods That Help Reduce Anxiety. And excuse me, I'm not going to read the whole article to y'all. I'm just going to go through the basics. And it's interesting at this part of the article, I love that they said there's no one single way to tame or manage anxiety, but an opportunity to reduce its symptoms arrives at every meal. That's because the food you eat can help dial down or crank up internal stress levels. And I thought that was really important to just bring up right now because like I said before, I would just eat, y'all. I didn't think about it. It's whatever I wanted to eat. And then I just went on with my day. And whatever stress or anxiety I was feeling, or aches or pains in my body that I was feeling, the connection of knowing that it could potentially be because of whatever I've eaten. Then, of course, the environmental stressors, a lot of those things we can't control. So it's like you're just compounding on to whatever's already happening by way of eating. So it's figuring out what's going to dial it down versus cranking it up. So it also goes on to say, can food ease anxiety? And I love that they're bringing this about as well. And I have a book. It's called Back to Eden. I will link it in the show notes here because the article goes on to say there's an old saying that food is medicine. And when we say old, we mean it. The origins of the quote date back to ancient Greece and Hippocrates, I can't even talk, y'all, who is often referred to as the father of medicine. The wise words of Hippocrates reflect what modern research has shown, especially when it comes to mental health. We're understanding that more and more just how much food influences the body. And this was Dr. Young that I guess they interviewed for this as well. There's clear medical evidence that nutrition affects our emotional well-being and can reduce the risk of anxiety. And so they break down from there, says many foods that may offer anxiety relief share certain characteristics. And these are their characteristics. So they would have like omega-3 fatty acids, decent protein count, high in fiber, vitamin B12, magnesium, and probiotics. And it gives you hyperlinks to eat one of these, except the B, and you can look up more about B12 on your own. But it gives you hyperlinks, and I'm going to click on one of the hyperlinks just to see. So I'm sure, yeah. So it basically just gives you the information about this particular thing, right? And what's so important for, consuming these actual characteristics or things that are in these certain foods, which we'll go through here shortly. So like I said, it's the omega-3 fatty acids, protein, fiber, vitamin B12, magnesium, and probiotics. The article goes on to provide foods that would have these things. So obviously like salmon and other fish, and it gives you more information about which fish that they're referring to because it's not all fish, right? So they break that down. Avocados, which are like my fave, and they have magnesium in them. It helps with reducing cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which a lot of us, let's be serious, are stressed to the max, particularly living in the United States. Seriously. It said red meat, though, raises some red flags when it comes to your health. Eating too much of it can increase your risk of heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. It's safe to say a hamburger a day will not keep the doctor away. But beef is also loaded with protein and B12, both of which can minimize anxiety symptoms. So how do you balance the bad and the good with beef? For starters, focus on serving size. That's important, right? And just basically saying moderation is the key. So basically just getting other protein sources. Obviously, they're saying like lean meats, chicken, things of that nature. Eggs being one of those things that have a high protein count as well. And they have B12 and B7. Yogurt is another thing. I love yogurt, the plant-based yogurt, because, if you have been following the podcast, you know that I'm vegan. So I eat Kite Hill yogurt. I love it. It's great. It helps with the whole gut health. So with probiotics and things of that nature, and obviously the protein as well, vegetables, obviously, right? Because of the fiber intake, definitely you want to consider that and have prebiotics that feed the bacteria in our gut, right? So they could break that down, certain vegetables that would be helpful. And that's what's the broccoli, carrots, green beans, and leafy greens, which literally are my favorite. Love, love, love. Things like greens, mustard, and turnip are my favorite. I'll eat collard greens as well, a Swiss chard, a rainbow chard, bok choy, like those things are my favorite. Even spinach, I like spinach as well, and that's what they mentioned in this article. Beans, for sure, for that protein and fiber intake. And then they go on to talk about other foods that can help ease anxiety. So things like bananas, chia seeds, chocolate, dark chocolate, extra virgin olive oil, flaxseed, kefir. I mean, the list goes on and on here. But then the article goes on to talk about foods to avoid. And this is where I know it can be really intense for people because a lot of this it's one thing to see, okay, I can have those things, great. But then when it's talking about the removal, I don't know about y'all, but once someone tells me I can't have something, the roadblocks instantly come up and the resistance is like full speed ahead for me. Full speed ahead, or basically it's just right there in the forefront. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But obviously, I mean, these things that we see are the things that we know we shouldn't be consuming. It is a lot of these things have become habit, and a lot of them, we have become addicted to in so many ways. So number one, they say alcohol, caffeine. Yikes, right? That's a big yikes for a lot of people because so many people drink coffee more than they drink water, and that can be a little intense. And it says caffeine can stimulate the nervous system, increasing your heart rate and potentially causing jitteriness and heightened anxiety. And let me tell you something. Me and caffeine, like I would never really have this sense of like this jolt of energy. I had literally what it said, the heightened anxiety and the jitteriness, but I was addicted. I just thought that was what was keeping me going. But meanwhile, it was just my unregulated nervous system that was just keeping me going full speed ahead. And it just wasn't what I thought it was. I was thinking this was energy and it really wasn't. I was just off the charts with anxiety. High, and this one right here, this next one, y'all, this is where I have struggled my whole life, and it's high sugar foods. High sugar, I'm sorry, and refined carbs like sweets, pastries, and white bread can cause blood sugar spikes and crashes, leading to mood swings and increased anxiety. High sugar foods, let's just put it this way. I mean, I've gotten better, but if high sugar foods were healthy, I would be literally the picture of health. Yeah, I love cookies. I love cake. I like things that are sweet, except sweet drinks, which is actually hilarious. But that high sugar foods are definitely something that I've gotten better, and I have to congratulate myself and like, pat myself on the back for that. But it has been a thing my whole life. Love, love, love sugar. But knowing that, as soon as I eat it, I'm like, I like wired up, and then after I'm ready to crash. And that was just my life. And I just thought I didn't even think about what I was eating was causing it. It's just like, oh, I'm just tired. I'm just tired. I gotta lay down. Or if I did have like a weird sense, like mood or whatever, it's like I'm just in a mood, right? And not really thinking like, what did I just eat? Like really have a moment of inventory. Like, what did I just consume? That wasn't even a thing. It was just like, oh, I'm in a mood, whatever, or I'm just stressed out. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. Not thinking about that I just had, maybe 4 or 5 Oreos right before all that happened. And oh, I needed to probably drink some water, maybe take a walk, like something, regulate myself at this time. Trans fats. So foods high in trans fats, so think of like fried foods, snack foods, some commercial baked goods can contribute to inflammation and have been, linked to increased risk of depression and anxiety. And I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I don't eat these things. Let's be serious, guys. This is why I'm talking about it, because I am still in the process of getting better at how I approach my eating and being mindful of how I'm feeling, especially when I get really anxious and nervous. And it's like, okay, girl, sit, chill, with no judgment, but like, leash, what did we just eat? What just happened that caused us to eat that? Because a lot of times it's me being overwhelmed by something. And it's like, okay, so now that I know that when that comes up again, maybe walk away, take a deep breath, have some water. If I can get out and take a walk, do something like that. And it's not gonna happen every time. For like, oh, okay, next time this comes around, this is what I need to do. Like, go to my toolbox, go to the things that I know will help me, as opposed to just going to that, just going to wear that out. Like, no, take the time to really be mindful. And like I said, don't judge yourself because it's a learning process and it's a journey. I'm 46, so it's been 46 years of my life, trying to cope and manage and soothe myself from all the stress and anxiety. Like I said, just finding ways to work through that. I love that the article then goes on, provide some reassurance. Because like I said, you get all this information, right? So okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, do this, right? Then you get all we're just indicted, right? Is that the right word? Basically we're just bombarded. We'll just go with that. But I think indicted's the right word, but whatever. We are bombarded with so much information day in and day out. And I think get the information, but then also know that just because you have the information, you just don't go full speed ahead. Give yourself some time. So here at the end of the article says how to make dietary changes for anxiety. And that's what they said. You've read a lot of information and digesting it can be a bit stressful and not the goal that they're trying to do. It's not the goal when we're trying to reduce anxiety. I guess I just should read the words and not try to improvise. But in the article, they're suggesting that a few small changes at mealtime is probably going to be the best thing. Switching out certain things and not removing so much stuff, right? Because that's where a lot of times, at least I find for myself, that I get tripped up and then I just go back to my old ways because it's like, shit, I can't get it together here. Like, I can't have this, I can't have that. It's like, what up? All right. So it's just like small things like replacing as opposed to removing is the key, and slowly doing this over time. It's a step-by-step process. And the smaller the steps you make, the bigger the impact, in my opinion, because it's so nuanced and small that over you're like, oh, I'm not really into that anymore. Okay, because let me tell you something. Honestly, I used to eat Oreos like it was my job. And you probably have noticed that because I've referenced them a lot. But now, like, I can't tell you the last time. Well, no, wrong. I did have some Oreos earlier this month. Was it this month or maybe it was last month? But that's the thing. Like, in comparison to what I used to do, I should have, not anymore, but I should have had stock in Oreos the way I used to wear them out. But I've gotten better. And I think that's another thing too, is celebrating your wins, no matter how small they are. Because I think that also helps with reducing our anxiety, because it's like when we're not looking at what we're doing in terms of creating change for ourselves, and we're just constantly looking at what we're not doing, that's just creating more anxiety, which will then lead you back into those old habits. So start celebrating yourself and congratulating yourself for the changes that you're making. I think that's crucial. And at the end of this article, it says, which I definitely agree, if you feel overwhelmed, talk to your healthcare provider about options. Sometimes it's really helpful to do that because getting a plan together with someone who has more knowledge about this is crucial, because it's one thing to read an article, right? And then try to go out there and do it on your own. It's like, okay, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing at this grocery store? Fuck it. I'm going over to the snack aisle and, whatever. But having a plan put in place by someone who specializes, like a nutritionist or something like that, would be beneficial. So you don't feel like you're just going rogue, especially when you're trying to go out and go grocery shopping. So it's so important. We have to, guys, we have to take charge of our health. And like I said, you don't have to go full speed ahead and just completely cold turkey it, but we do have to make some steps because this life is so intense. And to have the ups and downs of life that we see on a daily basis with whatever's going on in this country, with the administration, what's going on a global scale, it can really wear you out. I think, like I said, one of the best things to do we can do right now, or at least, one of the best things we can do is start with our diet and really focus on how we are taking care of these bodies that we live in, because we only get one. And if it's broke down and then you're still trying to fight the good fight out here, it's not going to work. All right, guys, I will share with you all the information, the article and everything in the show notes. All right, guys, I love you. And I will see you next week. Let's just keep on keeping on. Thank you for listening to the Eat Me podcast. All right. Bye.